So then folks, this is a video I like to make every year, and for all you eagle-eyed viewers out there, you may have noticed something here. I have got two older MacBook Pros and both of them are running macOS 14 Sonoma right now. So you've guessed it, today I'm going to show you how to install macOS Sonoma, so macOS 14 onto an unsupported Mac, and to demo this I'm going to be using a MacBook Pro to do this demo. So like I say every year, macOS basically gets more features and is also more dependent on a more powerful MacBook. So for example, this year I'm actually going to say the lowest MacBook you should really install macOS Sonoma on is like this one we have right here. This is a 2012 MacBook Pro with an i5 dual core inside it, and if you think about it, this MacBook is actually 11 years old. Now, I know a lot of you guys probably still might have a 2008 MacBook or say a 2010 MacBook, but personally, I would not install macOS Sonoma onto it because even on this one, it is starting to struggle with this, and that is with upgrades like, for example, it's got 8 gigabytes of RAM. Well, in fact, this one's got 10 gigabytes of RAM, but I'd say you need at least 8 gigabytes of RAM and also an SSD drive inside it. If you've got say 4 gigabytes or 2 gigabytes and you've still got a spinny hard drive inside it, I wouldn't even say put Sonoma onto this machine here. And this is probably the last of the standard unibody sort of MacBooks to install it on. But I would personally say any Mac out there, say a Mac Mini, MacBook Air, anything like that, or iMac, it's got to be at least a 2012 model or beyond to install Sonoma onto. Just like what we have right here, we actually have a mid-2015 MacBook Pro. And obviously this has its SSD and it's also got 16 gigabytes of RAM and everything is all built in, so you don't need to do any upgrades on this. And this works Sonoma really, really well. It's at least about 3 times faster, I've noticed, in opening up menus and things like this than opening it on this machine here. So I'd really, really highly recommend that you've got to have at least a 2012 machine or any newer than that. And just in case you guys were wondering as well, thinking that a 2012 machine can be still quite expensive, you can actually pick up one of these machines in quite good condition, and also you can pick up an SSD, say 128 gigabytes, also 2 4 gigabytes of RAM sticks, because it can take 2 sticks in it to make up to 8 gigabytes. You can get that now for around about $100 now and stick Sonoma on it. So personally, I would say if you've got an older machine, do that upgrade now, get yourself a newer machine and do those upgrades with it too. And if you do have, say, a MacBook from, say, 2011 old or a 2008 MacBook, I would personally say use the Ventura setup, what I did last year. Ventura is still going to be supported for at least another, say, 2 years of the time of making this video. So I would actually say go and install Ventura and follow the guide that's above me right now. But something else I also need to mention as well before we get started, and that is I am not responsible that if anything goes wrong with your MacBook during the Sonoma install, I'm not liable for any of your data being lost or anything like that. We've got to remember this is installing Sonoma on an unsupported Mac, and that's the key word there, unsupported Mac. And the thing that I would recommend most to do, and that is I would recommend to do a Time Machine backup on your Mac right now. The great thing about Time Machine backups is that it backs up all your documents, all your apps and anything like that. So if anything goes wrong, you can restore your MacBook using the Internet Recovery tool. Well, it's dead easy to do. Just Google it on the internet and how to do an internet recovery on your MacBook for your year, and then basically you can install your older sort of Mac OS and then recover from a Time Machine backup. And I would say that is far, far easier to do so as well. The other thing to mention too, as well as that Time Machine backup, is that I cannot guarantee that all your apps are going to work straight out of the box. So I have heard problems in the past where, say, Office doesn't like an unsupported Mac, for example. It might work on yours, it might not. But I'll be honest with you, I don't have the answers. All I'm showing you today is how to install Sonoma. So please don't send me emails or, leave me comments below going, how do I make this app work? How do I make this app work? Or how do I do this on my MacBook? Every MacBook is unique and different. The best thing I could say is write it down in the comments below, and as a community we can all help out each other here. So if somebody else has a similar MacBook, then basically tell that other person what you did to get that app working or to get something working on the install. Let each other know and help each other out. One last thing I would also say is that I would personally recommend to actually do a clean install on your MacBook. You can upgrade, say, from Ventura or even from an older Mac OS, say like Catalina to Sonoma, and that's just examples out there, or even say High Sierra as well. But what I personally recommend doing is I would actually wipe your drive and start again. That will all be in the setup today. But what I would also say is that I am going to be doing just an upgrade just to show you guys that everything just works, because you can do an upgrade version. But personally, in my own opinion, I am just going to say that it's probably better to wipe your hard drive and start again, and definitely do that time machine backup. And with that, guys, let's now get this 2012 MacBook Pro in front of a camera and let me show you how to install macOS. And I'm also going to restore this MacBook Pro back to its sort of official supported macOS and install it from that version onwards. So just a demo to you guys on this MacBook Pro. Just want to show you here. I am on the latest version what this MacBook Pro can be on. So this is the 2012 MacBook Pro. And like I said, this is probably the bare minimum MacBook Pro that you should go on. At the end of the day, as I've said already, this machine came out in 2012. It's 11 years old at the time of just even making this video. So, you know, if you're watching this like 6 months or a year from now, this MacBook Pro will be 12 years old. Really, I wouldn't be using anything older than this. 2012 machines and beyond is the best, I would say. And also on that as well, do remember that to have at least 8 gigabytes of RAM installed inside it. If you do have like a MacBook Air with 4 gigabytes, I'm sorry, I wouldn't recommend this personally. You can try it and it probably will work, but it'll be very, very slow. So make sure you have at least 8 gigabytes. So if you have 8, I've got 10 in here, you've got 12, 16, 32, 24 gigabytes, you're fine. The magic number is at least 8. The other thing as well is if you've got a MacBook Pro like this or an iMac or a Mac Mini even, where you can actually upgrade, say, the actual hard drives inside, I would do this as well. I've got here, you can see a solid state drive installed on this MacBook Pro. So again, exactly the same thing. Make sure if you do have, say, a 2012 model of an iMac or even say a Mac Mini or even say a Mac Pro or the MacBook Pro, make sure you definitely have a solid state drive. The great news is that most of you guys out there are MacBook Pro users and MacBook Air, and anything after sort of 2012, end of 2012 or sort of early 2013 onwards, all use solid state drives, so you don't have to worry about. The main thing that you guys need to double check on is that you definitely have at least 8 gigabytes of RAM installed. So with that out of the way, like I said, make sure that you actually have your MacBook up to date on the latest software it can be on. On this 2012 model, the latest you can be on is macOS Catalina. So just make sure, do a software update on your machine, get it up to the latest version, definitely first before anything and before proceeding with anything like that. The other thing I'd recommend you guys doing is doing a Time Machine backup. So make sure that you back up your files using Time Machine. There's lots of good guides out there. Back up everything, or make sure you do have a backup of all your files and all your apps, just in case something does go wrong. I'll say it, I've said this before in lots of other videos, I hold no responsibility if your files go missing with this. It's very unlikely that your files will go missing, but if you do a Time Machine backup, it gives you that extra safety net. So definitely do a backup on your machine. I'd highly recommend it. So with that, what we want to do next of all is to go into Safari or go into Chrome or Firefox, whatever browser you use. And then what you want to do is you want to go to the link what's in the description of this video. This is that GitHub link. I'm putting it in the description. You need to go to this. I'm not going to flash it up on the screen because it's a long link, but what I am flashing up on the screen is telling you go to the link below in this description to get the actual installer. So please go there right now. And also on that note as well, guys, I'm going to flip over to record the screen for the next part of this video. So the link will take you to an open core legacy repository. And as you can see here, it will tell you all the sort of MacBooks that are supported. And like I've said to you guys, majority of MacBooks, I would say, and Macs need to be from 2012 onwards. Obviously, there is the odd older sort of iMac and Mac Pro you can also see here, but this requires a metal GPU. And generally speaking, compared to say like a MacBook or things like this, these are generally more powerful. That's why here you can see it says it requires a metal GPU. GPU. So if you know what I'm talking about here, you know what to do. Get yourself a metal GPU, or you know you'll have one, and then you'll be able to upgrade to the latest version of Sonoma. At the end of the day, metal GPUs, you've needed them inside Macs for the last sort of about 3 or 4 years, to be fair. Now, what we want to do is scroll down to this link here. And as you can see, it's a Develop Sonoma link. Now, right at the stage of making this video, you can only download OpenCore Legacy from this download here to make it work. If you go via the normal way of OpenCore Legacy, it will not work. I'm hoping this will change in time, and if this does change, don't worry, I will be making an updated video. But for the time of making this video, this is the way how to download it. So click on this link and then download OpenCore Legacy via this link. And with that, let's now switch back to my other camera. So next of all, once you've downloaded OpenCore, you'll have it in your downloads. I've got it here, but you can also just go this way as well into your Finder, go to your downloads, and there it is. So it'll be the OpenCore patcher. So we want to open this up. And what this is going to do is just extract this onto your machine. So I'm just going to do that now. And then we'll actually have the app here. So you can just open it from your downloads folder. It doesn't matter. So we're just going to double click on that. So it's going to open up for us. And depending on how fast your machine is, it depends how quickly this will open up. Obviously, it's got to verify the app first of all. And you also might get something like this that says that you've downloaded it from the internet. Are you sure you want to open it? So you want to click open on that one. What I will quickly say on that as well, guys, if you don't get this coming up, we'll come to it. If it does say that you need to do something in settings to get this to open up, all you need to do is go to settings. And then all you need to do is go to security and privacy. And then here you'll have an option to say unlock the actual app, and a sort of pop-up sort of icon thing will come here. Obviously, if you are on, say, a newer version of Mac OS than Catalina, so say you're on Ventura, you obviously have the list version, but still go to security and privacy, scroll down a bit, and you'll see it in there if you're on Ventura. So don't worry too much about that. It's exactly the same. It's just a slightly different layout and look. But obviously, click open the app, allow it. You might have to put in your passcode, so make sure that you do that, put your code in, and then to do that to actually open up the app. But once you've done that, OpenCore will open up. Then you can close down security, and that's only if that comes up for you. What we want to do now, next of all, once we're inside here, is we actually want to create a macOS installer. So we want to click here, create macOS installer, and what we want to say is we want to download a macOS installer. So what it's going to do is it's going to go out onto the internet, go to Apple's website and see what versions of macOS are out there. And you can see at the time of making this video, we've got macOS 14 beta available. So obviously, you know, if it's come November time when macOS comes out, or October time when macOS 14 comes out with Sonoma, obviously it might not say beta anymore. But all you just need to do is just click on that. And then this will start to download onto your machine, and you just leave this run. And depending on how fast your internet is, it will basically download as quick as it can for you. So just leave this run right now. So I'm just going to skip here to the end because this is going to take another 6 minutes. But once that's all completed, then after this, you will get some validation checks just to make sure that everything has downloaded correctly. Once this is completed, you might be asked to put your code in. So I'm just going to put my code in quickly, or password, or whatever it is. And then after this, then it's going to extract everything now onto the computer. So this is everything which just got downloaded and verified. So this is just going to be now placed into a package on your computer. So we're just going to leave this run for a while. Then after this, you need a USB stick, just like what I have right here. And what you've got to make sure is it definitely plugs into the side of your Mac. So make sure you've got the right port, obviously. So this is just a normal USB port. As you can see, I've got my one, or USB one. But obviously some of you guys might have a USB-C. So you either need an adapter or you'll need a USB-C thumb drive like we've got here. Also, the other thing as well is make sure that your thumb drive works with your Mac before plugging this in. And also make sure it's empty too. You don't have to format it or anything. You've just got to make sure you've got everything off it because it's going to be wiped, and it does work with your MacBook before putting it in and running ahead. So this one definitely works. And also the other most important thing as well is it's got to be at least 16 gigabytes big. Personally, I've got a 32 gigabyte one here, so anything bigger than that is absolutely fine. So I'm going to plug this now into my port, but make sure, like I said, at least it's 16 gigabytes big. So I'm going to put in my 32 gigabyte one into my MacBook right now. And then after this, you can see it's been detected at the top here. So what I'm going to say is on this create macOS installer, it says, would you like to create a macOS installer? We want to click yes, and only yes once the USB stick has been plugged in. So we're going to do that. And now it's recognized that we do have the macOS here. So we're going to click on that one there, the one we just downloaded. And now it's going to see what local disks we've got. So this is where it's going to discover that we've got our USB stick here. So obviously mine's a 32 gigabyte, but it's only detecting 30 out of that 32. This is why it's important if you have a 16, you've got to have 16 or above. So I'm going to select that now. And then obviously what it's going to ask me is, it's going to ask, can we delete everything off this? So obviously I'm going to say yes, but this is why I was making sure that you guys have got everything off your USB pen here or thumb drive, because obviously it's going to be completely wiped. So I'm going to click yes. And now what's going to happen is it's going to ask for our code one more time, our password. So I'm going to put my little code in here for demo purposes. And then now what's going to happen is it's going to start to copy everything over to that USB stick. Now, obviously, your USB stick might change names or might disappear for a few seconds, like you've seen just there. Do not worry about this. It will reappear again. It's just because it's wiping it and giving it brand new names. There we go, as you can see there. And we're going to leave this run. And as you can even see here, it's that some installers might take more than 30 minutes to actually put this on. So it depends on the speed of your laptop, your MacBook, and also the USB stick. So I'm going to leave this run now. And then once this is all completed, as you can see here, like I said, this can take quite a while to complete. You'll get this message coming up here and says, would you like to install OpenCore to this disk? And this is meaning the USB stick. So we're going to click yes. And then obviously it's going to copy everything to it. And then obviously it's saying it's finishing the build. And it's asking us to install to the disk again. So it's just fetching information on local disks. And what we want to do is we actually want to put it onto the USB stick this time. So we don't want to put it onto our built-in hard drives at all, or built-in hard drive. We want to go back and put it onto the USB thumb drive, USB stick that we've got plugged in. So we're going to select that. And then it's going to ask us to click on the EFI. So we're just going to press on that there. And then we might just have to put our code in again or password. So I'm just going to do that. And then it's going to copy everything over now to that partition. And it won't take too long to complete. And there we go. It seems like it's all completed now. So this is it now then, guys. We are ready to get started with the full-on install. So what we're going to do is we're going to press reboot and we're going to hold down the option button. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change the camera around to be a bit more wider so you can see what I mean by the option button. And we're going to press that down and we're going to reboot. So let's do that now. So that's the camera all adjusted. So you can see I've got my USB stick in, ready to go and everything here. Just to show you, the actual option button, or sometimes known as the Alt button on the keyboard, is this one right here. So it's next to your command button. It's this one here we want to hold down. There is another one over here on this side, but it's this one here that we want to hold down. It will say option on it. So we want to hold that down once we're rebooting. So I'm just going to do that now. So I'm going to click reboot. It's going to tell us to restart. Keep the USB stick plugged in all the time on this one. So I'm going to wait for it to reboot now. And then now it's rebooting. We want to hold down that option button or that Alt key. Keep holding it down. So I've just gotten a little bit more closer to the screen here. Now what we want to do is we can use our mouse here, or we can actually just use the keyboard. And what we want to do is we want to go to this EFI boot here with the sort of yellow hard disks on it. We don't want to go to the black one. We want to go to this one here. So we're going to go into this one. And then once we're inside this one, what we want to do is we want to go to the install macOS Sonoma. So I'm just going to click on that here. And there we go, we'll have the Apple logo, and now this is now going to boot into the setup. So this might take a minute or two or a few minutes to go into. So we're just going to leave this run now. And then once we're inside here, it's going to examine the volumes and everything. There we go. We're quickly onto everything. Now, depending what you want to do here, you've got your choices. So if you want to just upgrade your macOS operating system, you will click on this option here. If you want to actually completely wipe your hard drive clean, you'll want to go into disk utility. And I'll just show you here very quickly. And remember, this step is only if you want to wipe your hard drive. And what you want to do is you want to change your view to show all your devices. And then with your sort of built-in hard drive, what you'll want to do is you'll want to erase it. So this is my SSD. So we click on that. And then you can name it whatever you want to name it. So a lot of people like to call it, say, Mac OS. And then they will click erase to erase everything on it. So you don't have to do this step, like I said, but you just click on that, it would erase your hard drive and everything would be completed. All of this would go. And then you can come out of disk utility once that's completed, and then you can come back to the step. So like I said, again, that is for only people who want to erase their hard drive and wipe everything off it. If you just want to upgrade and keep your data, do not do that step. Just click on Install macOS Sonoma Beta. So we're going to click Continue here. And there we go. We'll now have this logo. So we're going to click Continue there to move on to the next page. And then you'll get the terms and conditions and click Agree for this. Then after this, it's going to ask us where to install this. So what we want to install it onto our SSD. So my one here is this one here, which is the data one here. So this is my SSD. Well, I've got my current macOS Catalina on right now. So obviously I'm going to select that right now and click Continue. And then this is it now. It's going to start installing macOS Sonoma, or updating to macOS Sonoma. So we're just going to leave this run now. So depending on how fast your computer is and how new it is, and also, you know, the SSD speed, depends how quickly this is going to install. Now, I am going to tell you at this stage, very importantly, that your Mac will reboot maybe 4 or 5 times. There is nothing to worry about here. Just leave it run. But obviously, probably the first time when it does reboot, I will show you what you have to click the first time, but after that just let it reboot many times as it wants until you actually get to the main page to set everything up for Sonoma. And there we have it. We are now on the actual sort of main page to set everything up. So I'm going to go to my language here, or the country I'm set in actually. So I'm going to go to United Kingdom and we're going to click Continue next. And this, again, might take a second or two to continue on. I'm going to say, yeah, written and spoken languages. That's all fine for me as well. I don't need accessibility set up. So I'm just going to set up my Wi-Fi as well quickly. And then after this, we get data and privacy. I'm going to click continue. I don't want to migrate from another Mac or from a Time Machine backup or anything like that. At the end of the day, guys, if you went through the actual install sort of process and everything, and if you got any problems installing, I would always say that you do have your Time Machine backup. Something else also just to note here as well, some people have commented that when they've done an upgrade to Sonoma, then obviously sometimes what can actually happen is you can get an error with permissions. So what a lot of people have been doing is they've been wiping their hard drive at that stage, what I showed you earlier in disk utility. And then after they've done that wipe, then they basically installed Sonoma, got to this page, and then after that they've restored from a Time Machine backup and done it like that. So we'll just note that down at this stage, but we're not going to do that. So we're going to click not now for now. And then what we can do is we can set up with our Apple ID, but I'm going to set this up later. But do feel free to sign in with your Apple ID, but I'm going to click set up later for now. So I'm going to skip it. But like I said, sign in with your own one. And then after that, agree to the terms and conditions again. Lots of agreeing to T's and C's. And then obviously your name will either autofill already or you need to put in your name. So I'm going to put mine in. And then I'm going to put in a password of 1234 for this. 1234. That's also the password I've been using all this time, because obviously this is not my main MacBook, as you can imagine. So just to put that in for now, just for the test purposes, I'm going to click continue. So it's just going to create that account quickly. And there we have it. We're on the desktop now, loading up. So it's just going to take a couple of seconds probably to log in, because it's the first time this has ever happened, obviously, on Sonoma. And obviously this is the oldest sort of MacBook Pro you can do this setup on. So it might take a second or two to fully complete. And there we go. We are now on the desktop. And just to show you guys here very, very quickly, I'm just going to go to the About This Mac. And as you can see here, it is taking a bit of a while to load everything. And this is why I say this is probably one of the oldest machines you can do this on. But the point is, as you can see here, we are the mid-2012 MacBook Pro. We've got the Intel 2.5 gigahertz dual-core i5 inside it, 10 gigabytes of RAM and everything. So this is now fully installed in that sort of way there. And then when we're here, what we want to do is we want to wait a few more minutes, maybe, or a few more seconds till this pop-up comes up. And then this will come up, as you can see. It says, would you like to boot, OpenCore without having to use a USB stick every time? So we want to click OK on this. So what will happen is you'll get some configurations and things happening here. And then obviously this time it says, where do we want to install it? This time, instead of installing it to the USB stick, we're actually going to install it onto the main hard drive. So as you can see here, my SSD is this Samsung one here. And I'm going to stick it in the EFI there. So it's going to install it on that. We're going to put our code in. The code I set up, 1234. Click OK. So this is now copying OpenCore into this. Everything's finishing up here. And there we go, it's all complete. So what we can do now is we can actually press reboot and then press restart as well, but we can actually remove the USB stick. So I'm going to remove that now because it's safe to do so. There we go, it's my USB stick. So it is removed. Just to show you here as it boots up. So I've got my USB stick. We're now actually going to boot from the internal hard drive instead after doing that step. So here we go. Let's see if it comes up with a message to see that we're going to boot up from there. Or we're going to go straight to the actual install, the actual boot up screen. And there we go. You can see it says Mac OS. So we can either click on it or we can just leave it as my finger's there. So I'm just going to leave it here for a few seconds. And there we go. It's booting up now into Mac OS without the USB stick. Well, it's still in my hand here. You can even see it in my reflection. So yeah, we don't need that anymore. And we're going to boot now into Mac OS Sonoma. And we are completely able to use this machine now without any of the USB sticks whatsoever. So I'm just going to put my password in again. And there we are, we're fully installed. Now, if you do want to sort of update anything with OpenCore, anything like that, you can go to the launchpad down the bottom, scroll with your touchpad or with your mouse, go into OpenCore Patcher here. And once that opens, you can still build and install OpenCore, do everything like that. There's also the post-install root patch that we just done. Let's just double check it has worked successfully. There we go. It says it's already done. All the patches and everything's done. We can also revert those patches or we can reinstall them all over again, but it's all ready to go. So this basically means that we are fully able now to use Mac OS 14 Sonoma. So there we have it, guys. Give it a go yourself. See if you can install Sonoma on an unsupported Mac like I've done on these MacBooks I have right here. And also at the same time as well, if you want to get the latest sort of tech reviews and also guides like this one and also the latest Apple news as well, make sure you subscribe to this channel and also hit that notification bell. And also I'd really appreciate it if you've enjoyed this guide as well. So please do press the like button too. Until next time, guys, I will see you really soon. Take care. Bye bye. See you soon.